Welcome back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is a men's style blogger and content creator. Today's guest is David Komisarchik. David, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
For sure. So David, we're going to just jump right into things. I have 4 questions that I like to kind of kickstart each podcast conversation with. The first question that I have for you is, how do you start your day? Do you have a specific morning routine or morning ritual that you like to stick to on most mornings?
Besides hitting snooze at least once or twice, I get up at like around 4 in the morning nowadays. I like to get a little, light breakfast in, and then I hit the gym before I head off to work.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, that's kind of it. Try to just have a little me time in the morning and then head off to try to go work out.
Okay, now in terms of the breakfast, is that kind of vary depending upon the day or what you're feeling like, or is that kind of something similar that you have each day?
Pretty similar each day. I actually have worked with a trainer, so I've got on a nutrition kind of macro plan.
Cool.
So I try to stick to whatever the plan is that day.
Okay. Cool. And then in terms of movement or working out, you mentioned that you get a little bit of that in before you go to work. What does that kind of look like with your trainer?
So it'll be, I kind of get a program and then I'll go to the gym myself just to do whatever's kind of written out for that day. But a lot of strength training.
Okay.
A lot of weights. I used to swim back in college and before, so it's a little less cardio now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Mostly strength.
Okay. Sweet. Is there, the next question I have for you, a favorite book or book that you like to gift often?
I do have a favorite book. I have a few, but one that always comes to mind is Devil in the White City.
Okay.
Which it's about the era of the World's Fair in Chicago, and so it kind of follows the architects and the folks building it while also following Dr. Holmes, which was this infamous serial killer at the same time. So it's like this dual story, so it kind of appeals to my engineering construction side, and then also just my kind of love of exploring people's stories. So it's a cool book, but I haven't gifted it too much yet, but I always recommend it.
Okay. Is it based off of true events then?
Yeah, I believe it's nonfiction, or at least with a little bit filled in there.
Cool.
Yeah, for the most part.
Sweet. You mentioned there's 2 or 3 books. Is there? If you go ahead and share if there's another book
sure.
Or 2? Yeah.
The ones that really hooked me a while ago, or that it's the series called The Magicians. That was a solid, kind of about magic, kind of about real, if it kind of existed in this real world as opposed to just a fantasy world. So that's cool. I just enjoy that kind of series. I enjoy any book that kind of lets you escape. But
okay, cool.
Same time, I'll read very realistic nonfiction, historical stuff. So I'm both spectrums.
Yeah. Is kind of reading was that kind of an outlet for you growing up then as well?
I wish. No, I was a terrible reader growing up. I'm still I haven't read in a little while, but I'll come back to it every now and again. But yeah, no, my parents would make fun of me about how much I did not read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's funny. All right, so the next question that I have for you, David, do you have a favorite quote, mantra, or word?
I was thinking about this. There was one recently, actually, that my dad... I've been kind of figuring out some work stuff, and so one thing that my dad had said to me, just kind of in conversation, and I'm Russian, so he actually said it in Russian, but it's those who don't take the risk don't drink the champagne, basically. So it's kind of where my life's been headed. I'm trying to get less comfortable, so that's kind of stayed with me for the recent events.
Cool. And I'm definitely interested in getting into some of those recent events, because I definitely know, and we'll get there later on in your story, but I just know personally, we as human beings, mentally, physically, our whole being craves that comfort, but really true growth happens in the uncomfortable. So I'm looking forward to kind of digging into a little bit more of that and your experience in that here.
Yeah, sure.
Here in a bit. So now, before we move on to the next question, I on social media, kind of on Instagram and stuff, going into this new year of 2020, you're seeing a lot of people kind of like, hey, this is my word or this is my phrase for 2020. Do you have like a specific word that kind of resonates with you in this new year, or not per se?
Oh, man, it's not really like a word that's resonating with me. It's just kind of like a feeling in 2020 where I'm like, I don't know exactly what it is, but there's just like something big, I feel like, on the horizon.
For sure, yeah.
I don't know that there's like a single word that I could put to it, but it just feels like there's just like something's building, you know? Absolutely. So that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and that's definitely a feeling I have for myself personally, and then, you know, just having a lot of connections and conversations through the podcast, and then obviously too seeing people like on Instagram and social media. Right. It's definitely, there's something brewing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, the thing is, David, like just the energy here in Denver and this area. It's something very unique. I mean, there's so many young people. There's so many people like kind of like in our category of youth, and there's a lot of, you know, technology. There's a lot of exciting things going on. I feel even, you know, before this year, just the area that we live in, this Denver, Colorado area. There is this, seems like this energy of always something's brewing, something special is going on.
Yeah, so. something about the energy in Denver for sure. Something's like building, and I'm happy to be like on the forefront or the cusp or really anywhere about it. But happy to be here.
Me too, dude. Me too. Absolutely, it's cool. So the final question in regards to kind of the conversational warm up. Do you have a favorite or most listened to podcast?
So there is one that I basically listen to every day on my way to work. It's called Armchair Expert.
Yeah.
Yeah, you familiar with it?
Of course. Yeah, it comes up pretty often.
Yeah, does it really? That's funny.
Yeah,
I like stumbled upon it maybe a year or two ago, and I think I keep sticking around with it because of, you know, he brings in these, like Dax Shepard brings in these celebrities and makes them human, and then we relate to them on a level of like, well, I think my favorite question that he asks is, well, did getting rich and famous like solve all your problems? And then obviously the answer is usually no.
Right.
So it's just like cool, just like road to explore with all these people that we hold to such a high esteem.
For sure. Yeah. Is there another podcast or two, if you don't mind sharing, that you appreciate?
Yeah, some like, I mean, so I have checked out yours for a little bit now. I'm enjoying getting the people's stories just around locally. And then, gosh, there's another couple. So there's one called like Imagined Life.
Okay.
It basically follows either historical or public or famous figures, but you don't, like, it goes through their background and their history without you knowing who it is, and it kind of leads up to it at the end. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it hooks you because then you like, it just takes you through as much as they know, you know, of their history, but some different aspects of it, and then you see who this person is. And then I've been listening to, what's her name? She was actually a guest on Armchair Expert. Okay. She's like the love and relationship therapist.
Oh, okay.
But she has her own, like the name is escaping me right now.
But
cool. I think it's called Where Do We Begin?
Oh, okay.
And it's basically like this you like sit in on a session with a couple or so. So it's just like very interesting. It just like appeals to my sense of how other people deal with their problems, I guess.
Sure, yeah. Well, that's the thing too, you know, David, like with social media, like, you know, the Instagram stories, it's like, you know, we all, you know, enjoy kind of seeing behind the curtain,
exactly,
so to speak, right? And that's why, you know, even with my podcast specifically, just sharing people's stories, because we get to see in this social media internet age that we're living in, that's not going to go away. We get to see kind of the highlight reel, right?
Right.
You know, we're dressed up, or it's, you know, we're with this girl or this individual and whatever. But to be able to see behind the scenes, we all, I think, as human beings, really like that. You know, kind of crave that, so to speak. So the Where Do We Begin podcast, I might have to check that out. That sounds kind of cool.
Definitely recommend it. It's hooks you for sure.
Sweet. Yeah. No, that's great. That's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna just kind of transition into your backstory.
Sure.
So if you don't mind sharing with myself and the 127 Fit podcast listeners, David, kind of like, where did you grow up? What did those younger years look like? Kind of, you know, siblings, home environment. Were you involved in sports, extracurricular activities? We'll just kind of like, you know, get a little snapshot up until, you know, maybe high school, and then we'll move on from there.
Sure. So I grew up in Aurora,
Okay.
which is like just east of Denver, basically. So I'm a Colorado native, but
Yeah.
my parents actually came here from Russia, so I'm a first generation, or firstborn generation, I guess, because I have an older sister, but she was born back in Russia before they got here.
Okay.
So they came when she was 5 and my mom was like 8 or almost 9 months pregnant with me.
Okay.
Yeah. So they came to Denver, got jobs, ended up moving to Aurora, and that's where I spent most of my childhood, like basically kindergarten through high school.
Yeah.
Let's see. So most of my childhood was kind of like them making a life for us and then us going to school. I did sports. I did pretty much every like pee-wee sport that you could think of, and then didn't land into like my sport until like I was 11, which was swimming. So I ended up doing that from like when I was 11 to basically all the way through college.
Okay, cool.
And then I was pretty involved academically too. I think there's a kind of a big standard in our house just to like perform well and not waste the opportunity that was given to us by our parents. So focused a lot on like doing well in school, doing some extracurriculars. Like I did this organization called Future Business Leaders of America.
Oh yeah,
like,
I've heard about that.
It's like
cool.
It was like my version of debate. My sister did debate, and that was kind of my thing.
Okay.
And then man, that was really most of my childhood. So it was like school, after school sports, homework, rinse, repeat when I was growing up.
So I wanna try to just pull a few things out there.
Absolutely.
Now, in regards to your parents coming to the United States from Russia, were they, was there some, turmoil, war, something going on over the time? What was kind of the impetus behind that?
Yeah, I mean, so it was like the early 90s, right? So not a great, I mean, it just wasn't a great time for them. I think most of their friends and family were looking to get out and come to the U.S. In general for a better opportunity.
Absolutely.
They weren't exactly allowed to live like free lives over there. And so they wanted a better opportunity for us kids. So they came here. One of my mom's best friends was already here, so they helped sponsor a visa, get them over here.
Cool, yeah.
And then really like a lot of my grandparents ended up coming. Some more family came out, some more of their friends. I mean, it was just for the opportunity, really.
Yeah, cool.
There was turmoil, obviously, but without me knowing their story fully.
That's completely cool. It's just always kind of interesting. I actually had a gentleman on earlier today. I had a podcast conversation with him, and he grew up in Ghana until he was 10. So it's always interesting to kind of hear why somebody chose to come to the United States, right? And I don't think I've heard one that's not because of like better opportunities.
Right. Yeah, I feel like they've protected me a little bit from exactly everything that's at least, or maybe I wasn't paying attention. Who knows? As a kid, you never know. But I feel like I probably don't know the extent of everything that they experienced. But definitely opportunity.
So kind of just like the family environment or the family dynamics. I'm sure your parents have a very strong work ethic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure they probably stamp that hard into your mind along with your sister. And then you kind of alluded to or mentioned to the fact or the point how important education was. So let's touch on kind of like that work ethic and then the educational aspect of things. Were those two things that your parents really modeled and also preached to you and your sister pretty hard?
Yeah, I mean that was, I guess it wasn't necessarily like spoken every day, but there's definitely that like that energy in the house of like, we got to come back and do the best that we can. At least I felt pressure, for lack of a better word. But I mean, definitely my parents had high expectations of both of us. So, go to college, get have careers, get steady, do the best that we can in school. Basically, I mean, all I felt was like not allowed to waste any opportunities while we're here, just because that's why they came here, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
And my dad, he got his doctorate, he was an educator as well as very educated. So that was something that I've kept in the back of my mind.
Absolutely, yeah.
Though my sister kind of went more that route than I did.
But that's cool.
I think we just, there was if nothing else, like that's probably what kept me from being lazy, at least in like high school. In elementary, middle school, I was not the best student, but I think it clicked. Cool. Towards the end of that.
Now I want to touch on kind of the swimming a little bit. Cause I was actually on swim team.
Oh, nice.
We didn't have. I'm from Iowa, so we didn't have like indoor pool and like swimming up in high school. It was more of like a summer type thing. But I was on swim team for a handful of years. I love swimming. It's just it's an amazing activity. It's an amazing sport. So in regards to swimming, you said you even swam in college. So. Was swimming kind of like an escape or maybe an outlet for you? Was that really a positive experience for you overall?
Overall it was. As I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day. I guess, so, like I said, I tried all the PE sports. I was in, like, judo for a little while, and I hated competing. Like, no matter what it was, I was scared. Couldn't tell you why. Some weird, like, anxiety around being... competing, like even at my first swim meet, I think I like DQ'd my first event, but still was like even too scared to. It was like a 50 breaststroke, right? But like I was almost too scared to get up there, and then I ended up DQing. Once you finally got over it and kept doing it, it wasn't a big issue. But
of course.
I think swimming stuck. So I think my parents were kind of trying to find an extracurricular outlet. My cousin started swimming, and so they kind of threw me in with my cousin, and it stuck in that, like, I think I liked from the beginning that it was something a little bit more individual, so, like, I could train and do everything with the team, but it was still kind of, like, my responsibility. So there's that team aspect, but, like, not necessarily having to depend on, like, or the pressure of them having to depend on me in that sense. So there was kind of that weird, like, I like the individuality of it, I think.
Cool.
But now, I was talking to somebody, a friend a while back here, but, cause they were asking, like, some of my friends from college were like, well, do you want to, go swim, go get a workout in? Like, I refuse most of the time. Like, I do not like getting back in the water. I like it. I don't know if I'm burnt out or what, but I think I just realized I enjoy like the strength training and going to the gym and doing it for my own fitness and stuff rather than like for a competition later on. Like I think for some, like I like being competitive with myself, but I like hate being measured against like times or some like, the kids in the lane next to me. So it's a weird thing. So I've like taken a different role in my fitness where it's just like, it's just mine. But swimming was, when I got into it, it was like that thing that was and it created like a good group of friends and community. So.
What was kind of like your main strokes?
Breaststroke and butterfly. Were mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a breaststroker. I really enjoyed that stroke. Now the butterfly, that's, dude. Like I was talking to somebody the other day. Maybe it was another guest. I can't remember. There's so many conversations, but just like when you watch, like we'll just take like the highest level of an Olympian, right? Yeah. And they're doing the butterfly, dude. Like it's such a beautiful display of like artistry and athleticism, and it's so cool. But it's a pretty hard stroke to master.
Yeah, it's basically like every muscle in your body firing at once. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say that I ever got like very good at it, but that's cool. I don't know. For some reason, those weird movements, like the butterfly and the breaststroke, like the weird, like short stroke movements, kind of clicked more than the free and
now,
back.
You mentioned, a little bit, you mentioned the word pressure, and then you kind of, said something about like anxiety a little bit. What was, because a lot of times, like I've struggled with anxiety since I was, pretty young, and the way, like you don't really. You're just living your life as a kid, right? Yeah. And you have all these different things coming in, and you don't really know what it is. Nowadays, there's a lot more people talking about anxiety, depression, and mental health, which I think is a positive thing. But like when I was growing up, like, dude, nobody was talking, nobody at school in regards to teachers or, maybe an assembly was talking about depression, anxiety, all that. So what I'm just kind of wondering, was there this like pressure, kind of some of this anxiety, was this something that you noticed at a pretty young age, or is that just something that you kind of like some words that you used kind of just like in passing, so to speak?
No, I probably use them on purpose now because I can recognize what it is.
Right. Yep.
But no, as a kid, I don't think I knew. Like, that was just life, right? Like that was just sometimes it would be like, I guess I would get called like emotional in that sense, but I think it was like so I was like supposedly like a sensitive kid, but I think I just had like emotional responses to a lot of things. Yeah, okay. But again, I thought that was just life, right? Like I didn't put words to whatever that was. And now I think as I've actually gotten older and have put some more attention to like just emotional health and mental health, that like now I'm like, oh, now I think I realize that this there was a pressure, and then I obviously have some sort of form like of anxiety that I am now working through.
Now how do you kind of work through that, like when you're kind of in a situation where it's like, because I actually read one of your recent posts on Instagram, and you talked about like, when you kind of are in a new situation around maybe new people or something, like there's your heartbeat kind of like elevates, and maybe there's some nervousness or anxiety, which I think most of us, if we're very vulnerable and truthful, like most of us, struggle with that on some level. Yeah. So how do you kind of work through, a situation like that? Like, is it like maybe some positive self-talk? You may practice some breathing. What does that look like for you,
so
David?
Some of the techniques I actually got from my therapist that I've been working with lately is just breathing techniques for sure. So it's like that 4-second in, 4-second hold, 4-second out type deal. And that's just like to slow, like, the fight or flight response. So slow the like emotional, like erratic heartbeat, thoughts, all that, take myself out of that. And then one other thing that he kind of suggested, which has been really good, is like, I'm always the type of person like, yes, I'm scared and I'm nervous and whatever, but it's going to be okay. And he kind of told me to take away those but statements, essentially, where it's like, say, it's okay to be nervous, scared, whatever it is, and then say, and it's going to be like, so you're acknowledging kind of both ends of it. So I'm trying to just kind of lean in and acknowledge. It's because even coming here a little bit, like I get like, the heart elevates. I had like literally just like a phone call with another guy that I was kind of used as a mentor. And like even before that, we had never spoke on the phone before, but like even before that, like I could feel like my heart jump into my throat or whatever that saying is, but like I could feel it, and I'm like, this is like, I don't get why this happens, but then like most of the time, like once I dive in, like that's, and my other thing is like I just have to dive in, and then it's like it's definitely that like introverted extrovert type thing, because I definitely feed off the energy of other people, and like when I'm having conversations, it's great. But like that first little hump to get over that and into it, it's like it's worked for me, which is also kind of like with the Instagram persona and like that kind of label as influencer or content creator. Like you've got to be pretty socially active, right? So it's like a weird contradiction, but breathing, slow it down, kind of work through it, lean into it, and then kind of dive in.
Cool. And I appreciate you sharing that, because like, again, we all, as human beings, we all have different fears, insecurities, anxieties, pressures, and just the way that our world's moving, and just the way our world is. There's a lot of people you are starting to hear that have like what we would call social anxiety. You know what I mean? So thank you for being willing to talk
my
about
pleasure.
that a little bit, and I appreciate you sharing some of your techniques, because again, like we talked about before we turn on the mic, David, as we share our story and share kind of maybe our some of the tools we use in our life, or the techniques like that can really have a positive impact on other people, right? So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Cool. So let's talk about college. If you don't mind sharing, what did you study in college, and kind of what was your college experience like?
So I went to CU Boulder, I guess University of Colorado, Boulder. and it was actually the only school I applied to in state.
Okay.
So I had that kind of wish to get out, I think, as most 18-year-olds do. But I didn't necessarily have like a dream school or anything, so I wasn't somebody that had like, I don't even know what my dream major was realistically. Like looking back on it now, I took some drafting classes, engineering. My strengths always lied in math and science, and so, well, at least as a kid, I guess. And so naturally, like, tended towards an engineering degree. I'd always had kind of a, like, constructability mindset, I guess. So I was exploring like architecture and stumbled on a couple of schools that had this major called architectural engineering.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So that's what I ended up studying at CU, and that was mainly because I didn't have like an art portfolio to submit for an architecture program. So I was like, oh, well, this is probably pretty similar, but come to find out, it's more like design of buildings or like construction of buildings. So there's kind of different sectors in there. So I just kind of went with it, honestly. I had a couple of friends doing the same thing, and we kind of fell into it. So I did that for 4 years, and then came out with an internship in construction, and have been in that for full time ever since. Okay. Yeah. So
was college? I mean, obviously. CU Boulder has, and Boulder just, in general has a very, people out in Colorado and even Nashville. There's certain connotations with University of Colorado Boulder and Boulder itself. So with that being said, did you party? What was kind of like the experience outside of like the actual school? Did you enjoy yourself?
College was a good time. So a lot of it, so the swim team that I was actually on was a club swim team at CU. So I mean, the difference there was like all of us chose to be there and practice 2-a-days rather than like, got like recruited or whatever it was. So that became a family basically. So awesome. A lot of, I mean, there's, as much as sports teams and all that goes, there's some partying, there's some good times, definitely. Cool. I definitely enjoyed my college experience. I don't know that I had like the completely like stereotypical Boulder story that everybody had, but I definitely like experienced some of that and had a good time. I mean, Boulder's awesome, man. I don't know how much time you spent up there, but
I've been there several times on podcasts. I mean, I enjoy going there. Would I ever live there? No.
That's kind of what we all say basically after college. Like, it was great to like spend those 4 years there, but like I don't know that I would live there permanently again. But and I still love it. It's just it's kind of like that part of my life, and I just like close that chapter, and then that's where Boulder sits. But I love it, man.
Now, just before we move on, in regards to college, is there maybe like, as you look back, was there like one takeaway or maybe one experience at college that really sticks out in your mind?
Oh man, there's a lot of stuff that happened. Most of the best experience I had was with swim team kids basically. Just because like that became a family. So a lot of stuff that I took out of that is like. And I think this is kind of now popular in our society, but like finding that community or your tribe, basically. And I still have a lot of people from that group, like still present in my life today. Cool. So it's just super cool. So I guess something even more physical to take out of that, like actually would be able to take people or relationships past college. So that was awesome.
Cool. Now, so the actual degree that you got is what now?
Architectural engineering.
Okay, and then you said you're still in that field, and
so it was a focus on construction management, and that's what I do full time right now.
Okay, so break that down for me, because I don't know anything about that. So.
Yeah, it's like it's basically we always joke that it's like glorified babysitting of adult, but basically. So we get a contract with a client to build a building, whatever it may be. And then, so we run everything from like the schedule, the budget. I'm on site every day making sure stuff gets built the way that we want it to get built, basically, or per our plans or documents, or if we run into problems in the field that we're addressing them, fixing them, changing it, adapting, moving on, and just delivering like a quality product that people want. So it's a lot of like it's weird because it's a lot of like contractual legal stuff that goes in behind it, and then there's also a lot of people skills because I'm dealing with all different kinds of people, from guys who've like come up in the trades their entire lives to, you know, presidents of those companies. So it's like an interesting place to be. But really, yeah, it's just, you know, delivering a product. It's just a very like physical product that you're delivering.
Is it? I want you to be truthful. Okay.
Sure.
I don't want you to give me like the PC answer.
Okay.
Or what you think you should say. Is it something that you foresee yourself doing in the future, and do you really, really love it or not?
Okay, yeah.
I preface.
I know. You're asking me to be honest. Yeah, exactly.
Because I can feel that you
it's
don't
tough.
absolutely love it.
The short answer being yeah. As it's changed. I think as I was like new to it and coming to it, I was learning a lot. I get fueled and motivated by the fact like when I'm learning a lot. Yeah. And it is a really cool industry. Like there's the active problem solving on a day-to-day basis is really cool. I think I've just realized that as I near kind of the end of my 20s and into my 30s and like start thinking about where's my life going, I'm not 100% sure what that is. Or cool, where that or where construction fit. It's an exciting spot to be in. But yeah, hopefully nobody at work gets mad.
I know. That's the thing, man. Is like I can feel, and like as I observe your body language,
absolutely.
When you're talking about like what you do in the sense of like probably what's paying most of the bills and stuff. Like I can see through your body language, and I can just feel your energy. Like it doesn't like set your soul on fire. It's not like you're not like, dude, I love it. It's like something that you went to college for. And I feel like it's probably something where it's like, well, this is kind of like what I'm supposed to do right now. But you're in a beautiful spot, David, because as you said, you're looking, you know, into your 30s, and you're like, okay, is this what I want for the rest of my life? Like, what do I want? You know, kind of like, what is my purpose? So that exploration can be kind of like overwhelming at times in life, but also as you lean into it, step into it, kind of allow things to unfold as they're supposed to unfold, that exploration of like why and what's your purpose, that also can be a very exciting time of life too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's an exciting spot to be in. It's like obviously it plays into my nervousness and anxiety, the fact that like don't really know where things are going, but and I've had some really great people like in and out of that company trying to help and guide me, so that's been good. But I mean, I'm just kind of, I think I've finally hit, I don't know if it's critical mass or what it is, but like of figuring out like what should I be doing now that I'm not like just a 22-year-old trying to like learn fresh out of college. Now I have some sort of knowledge and background. Like, what do I want to do with it?
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Now, let's talk about what I wanted to come back to at the beginning of our conversation in regards to kind of like the pursuit of the uncomfortable, or stepping into the uncomfortable. So just as we've been going for 33 minutes here, like I can already see with just some of the different, you know, things that you have to work through on the day-to-day, the kind of the anxiety, different pressures, stuff like that. I can see where, you know, that statement by your dad has really been impactful in your life, and why you're kind of realizing it's important for you to continue to pursue that uncomfortable. So with that being said, I just kind of want to hear your perspective, David, in terms of like why it's important for you to continue to pursue the uncomfortable and kind of what that means to you specifically.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to me because I'm just realizing now that when I'm not necessarily passionate about something or being challenged even, a lot of my motivation goes away. And to kind of like live your life without motivation, at least in like maybe the main thing that you're doing or whatever it is, it's just like not a great it's not a great way to live, you know, at least in my opinion. You know, some people I'm not like, you know, if you're in a sense of comfort and that's like where you want to be, like that's great. I just think I've just realized that, you know, kind of checking the box every day is just like not something that
it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. And it like, though it like and like, I'm not even just saying just with, like, I'm not saying just work. I'm just saying in general, like, there's like so much opportunity and just all the way around. And so like I'm trying to like be open to some of these things. And so, I guess what being uncomfortable to me is like kind of what I said, like leaning into some of this anxiety about stuff that's unknown and some things that maybe I don't have a full grasp on or didn't go to school for, and therefore like maybe don't know what I'm doing at the outset of it all. Right. But trusting that, at least like there's something exciting about it. So I'm like trying to chase those things that, excite me, as opposed to like I said, checking the box every day and staying like just being secured and comfortable in that sense, and that, I know what every day is going to look like, and I don't know that that's really the fuel to my fire anymore. Even though that, like, the other part that contradicts is that's kind of like the opposite of what my parents, like the pressure that I felt from my parents coming here, right? So it's like there's like I have this thing, or I have some things that are comfortable and like could potentially just serve me for the rest of my life, but I don't know that that's where I want to be. And
it's interesting, David, because it seems like to me that there's like because when we grow up, we are conditioned to think a certain way, to believe certain things, to act a certain way by our parents or the adults that are in our lives, right? Yeah. And then as we grow up and as we experience life and things like that, we get educated and things of that nature. Not everybody, but some of us realize, like, man, like my parents or the adults in my life, the school teachers kind of taught me to live life this way, but there seems to be like this other experience over here. There seems to be another way to live life over here, or like there's this passion that's in my heart and I want to do it this way, but there's these expectations of the adults and the teachers and the parents. There's like this struggle. Is that something that you kind of feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and not that any of those people are coming from a bad place, right? It's like not. what my parents know and what they're just trying to do to make sure that like I live a happy, secure, safe life or whatever. But and I think it's weird, like, so those like Daxit podcasts or whatever, all these things in my life that I'm like listening to and like people's stories that I'm hearing, it's like all these people who broke away from that, you know what I mean? So it's like I feel like I just keep coming in counter with these stories that are like telling me that there's like a different way to do it. I mean, even some of my really good friends like have paved their own way in a lot of their kind of pursuits, and I'm just like, maybe they don't have a 401k, but they're like loving what they're doing, and I'm like, maybe like that's the key to, or at least worth exploring, at least in my eyes, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course,
something to like, and if it's not the thing, then it's not the thing. But I'd rather know than not know.
For sure. Yeah, I like that. I'd rather know than not know. That's a great statement. So, let's move into kind of like the being a men's style blogger, content creator, because I feel like just in our short time of conversation, I feel like this is really kind of like what kind of gets your gears turning, so to speak, and kind of really excites you. So just because, I mean, obviously just men's style blogger, like you kind of like just with that title, like you kind of understand what it is, but what is the actual details of that? And then because when I go to your Instagram, you've got like 10,000 followers on there, right? You're promoting different, it seems like, brands with clothing and styles and all that. So how did that come to be? And then just like kind of what does all of that mean to you personally? Yeah. So
really what it came to be was I was a couple years ago in like a super creative rut, and just I basically, my like kind of what we're talking about, like my life was like work, maybe gym, and then like go home and just like repeat, and I was like in a place where I needed more than that. So I followed a bunch of guys who were kind of doing the same thing, saw a little bit of what they were doing, and I was like, well, I've always had this eye for detail, and I've always like paid attention to at least the way that I'm dressing and things like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that, like, right off the bat, I just like started an Instagram page March of 18, I think. We're almost on 2 years. Yeah. So literally just like started taking a few photos. And I didn't do it because like I didn't have the goal of like getting Instagram famous or doing any of that kind of thing. I was just like, this is just I want to do something. I want to share something. I mean, like, yes, in my head, I was at that point, I was like, maybe I get some free stuff out of it. Who knows? Like, I don't know what happens, but then like I started doing it, and it grew kind of quickly within the first probably 6 to 8 months. And I was surprised. To this day, I still kind of feel like I like snuck into the party. Like, there's a little bit of that imposter syndrome. I was like, because I don't. It like. That like men's style blogger content creator is just kind of this community that I've joined, but I'm like, I'm just like a guy. Like, I don't know, like it's dude, right? Yeah. So it's like and like obviously there's people that I hold in higher esteem in that kind of community of people, and that the more I talk to them, like they're just guys. You know what I mean? It's like it's an interesting thing, or like it's weird to me when like when people ask me for advice or ask me questions, like I'm like, man, like who am I? Right, I got you. But yeah, so just kind of grew into it. It ended up, I started out with these kind of like what they're called flat lays, but basically like clothes on the ground, organized in kind of like a nice, neat grid pattern, basically. Started that, kind of started doing. Then I moved on to kind of doing these like headless shots, basically of me wearing. So you'd have like the grid outfit, and then the clothes on me, and then. Early last year, I started my website just because I kept getting a bunch of questions on like, well, how'd you put this together? What were you doing? What were you thinking? So I was like, I guess from what it looked like, everybody was looking like for a formula, basically. And I was like, well, I can tell you like how it goes through in my head. But so I ended up starting that website and started a blog kind of early in 2019. So the website will probably just hit a year. Old now. And then from there I've just enjoyed it. So I finally made the transition into like the full kind of lifestyle type content as opposed to just like headless shots or whatever it was. But so that's kind of the evolution of it. It grew on me. Then I ended up having some vendors and brands reach out to me that wanted to send me stuff to post about, which was again super weird to me because I was like, who am I for the entire probably almost first year. It was just like all pictures on an iPhone. Like it was like crazy to me that like I was having that like comparative syndrome, right? It was like these guys who were like killing the game essentially, like, and I was like, wow, you guys like want. Okay. I was like, okay, great. Like let's just keep growing, and it's just like it's kept growing. And yeah, like that's kind of the thing that helps push me every day. And yeah, so now it's just kind of evolved. I've kind of learned that it's a little bit of a saturated market in the sense that there's like a lot of guys kind of, if you look for them and you follow like men's style content creators, bloggers, there's a lot of guys in this segment. So my thought is always like, how do I differentiate? Yeah. And I think the thing that I've enjoyed is focusing on kind of more of that like true connection. So that's why I share like in my captions like real stuff that's going on like with my day, or stuff about my anxiety, or things that like when I like talk about style, how it relates to like confidence and all these things. So I think that's kind of like where I set apart, whereas like I'd rather be somebody's like, like I want to be like your friend that like you're coming to advice to, rather than just like this kind of weird like like I'm not trying to be like on a platform or anything like that. So that's kind of like what I've enjoyed, is like really sharing real stuff in the content that I create. And then so that's like I kind of revamped some of my latest blog posts to kind of be different, of like I'm not just trying to share like here's like you need like the 5 things you need in your closet or whatever. Not so I'd rather like teach people their own process and then encourage people to break rules, because that's like I hate, that's my number one thing, is like, again, because it comes from that imposter syndrome. Like I hate being that guy who's like, you should do this, you shouldn't do this, and I was like, I'm nobody to tell you what you should and shouldn't do,
right.
but like here's some ideas and like let me see how you do it yourself, you know. So
for sure.
So yeah, that's I guess that's kind of like the brief history of it, but yeah, I don't know. I love it.
No, and it's I love it. I love that, you know, you're going for it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's you know, you're kind of working through this, you know, season or experience in life of kind of like, what's my purpose, and am I going to keep doing kind of like the job that I went to college to do and all this, but it's cool because you've got this thing kind of like on the side, and it seems like it's something that really, you know, motivates you and kind of like, you know, again, sets your soul on fire and gives you some passion in life, which is beautiful. Now, I want you, just kind of in your own words, David, to explain imposter syndrome, because that's something that, again, that specific terminology, I had never heard of that until probably, you know, within the last couple of years through podcasts, right?
Yeah.
And it's terminology that's kind of, you know, thrown around a lot. But again, I'm pretty confident that all of us human beings, if we really get an understanding of what imposter syndrome is and we really get vulnerable and real, all of us at either some point in life or in some situation in life have this imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I know I've experienced, right? When
yeah,
I was a
totally.
School teacher, I'm like I didn't go to school to be a school teacher. I went to school to, you know, be a personal trainer, own my own gym, and here I am, a physical education teacher, and, you know, with all these, you know, around the teachers that went to school to be a teacher, and they have all these cool tricks and techniques, and I'm just like seriously, I'm like, what am I doing?
Right.
Like, I'm like, okay, I've got my badge, I can get into school, but like, I mean,
dude, exactly.
Do they really know who I am?
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Know, it's nothing bad, but just like, there's that imposter syndrome, right? So from your perspective and kind of your own words, what is imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's kind of like what you touched on is like having the like you got the badge to go into school, but you're like, what am I doing here? Like, right. So it's like you got like somehow you got invited to this party of whatever, you know, whether it's like the content creator industry kind of for me, or like education for you, or I mean, even if it's just like a promotion at a new job and you're like, not sure if I'm ready for this, but like you made it to the party and now you're like not sure why. It's like a weird thing of like, to me it's kind of like a combination of like this comparative thing that you like compare yourself to others and you're thinking to yourself, well, they're straight up killing it, and like why, like I don't deserve to, like you said, like these teachers have different tips and tricks that you didn't necessarily do, so like I don't even deserve to be in the same room with these people, you know what I mean? And then there's a little bit of that like lack of confidence too, where you're like, you don't, you know, you like, you felt like you snuck into this party, right? But like, you know, somebody has seen something in you that like, obviously you belong there. You're like, you should be there, but in your own head, whether it's a lack of confidence or again, that comparative thing that like for some reason you feel like you don't deserve a spot at where you are. So I think it's a little bit of that like sort of weird lack of confidence and comparativeness, but it's basically just saying like, like in the thing that I'm doing, even though this is like my industry or this is what I've created for myself, like I feel like an imposter. Like I feel like it's like the ultimate like faking it till you make it. So like then you made it and you're like, oh, am I still faking this or like am I doing? So it's just like that weird. It's I guess it's harder to put it into words than I thought. But
I love what you're saying though, Dave, in regards to kind of the party. Like somehow you got into the party, but then I think the thought is like, am I supposed to be here?
Right.
Or when is the security guard gonna come and kick me out?
Exactly. Yeah. Like when is it gonna like? When are they gonna find out? You know, that I like am. Like I said, that I'm just a guy. Yeah. Like, I'm a guy that lives in Aurora, Colorado,
like
right? I'm just a guy. Like that's it. So it's like that weird feeling. But I mean, I think it's kind of a good and a bad thing because it like keeps you humble in a sense.
Of course.
But at the same time, like maybe like you made it to the party and you should be confident about it, and then like take the party by storm. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't. Like that. Yeah. Like I don't know. Like
why not?
Right. Like maybe there's a fine balance to strike there.
For sure. And again, you know, I hear you know, high level entrepreneurs and you know people through the podcast medium all the time saying like, you know, people that are worth millions and millions of dollars have it all, and they're like I struggle with imposter syndrome. So I think it's just something within that human nature, something that's innate within us. You maybe have to study kind of the evolution process or whatever you kind of believe in with all that, but there's something innate within us as human beings that if again we're really vulnerable and we pull back the layers, like we all struggle with that on some level. So
totally.
You know, that's cool. Now something that I took away as I was reading a few of your Instagram posts, something that you said was you know, pursuing what you love, and then something that I kind of wrote down is like just kind of like being you, doing you. You know, between kind of those two phrases, I got those from your Instagram, from some recent posts. So as you are kind of like working through, let's say, the imposter syndrome and some of the different things that you have in your own personal life, like what is the importance and the value for us as human beings, David, to just being us, doing us, you know, and then just really pursuing what we love? Like what is kind of all of that mean to you?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
To me, like showing up and being you, it means that you're kind of like willing to explore these things that maybe isn't the normal path, or like, in my case, trying to figure out what the right path is, and maybe it's not necessarily what you went to school for or what it is, but like being confident enough to say like, this is who I am, or whether it's like just with the clothes that you wear, like you just want to like wear these things that you want to wear, and it doesn't have to be something as big and life changing as like your entire career path or whatever. But I think it's just like you have so much more to offer to like your community, to wherever you work, if you're like you, if you're genuinely being you, without the fear of, or without, you know, any hesitations of like, well, I'm going to get judged if I talk a certain way like this, or if I dress a certain way like that. And so I think it's just like people have so much to offer when they like really do the work to like find themselves, and then are happy enough to like, or not happy is the wrong word, but like are just confident enough to like share that with people. And then kind of like you said, I think we end up learning from each other's stories for like the people who've gotten there, and you're like, oh, like it's way better to, you know, not just follow the curve, or like maybe going against the grain in some cases is a great way. And we've gotten a lot more contribution to our communities, our cultures from like people like that too.
Right,
so,
for sure.
I mean, I just like, I think it just means like find your passion and like bring that to the world, I guess, because that's, you've got a lot more to offer there.
Yeah. and that is what you're pursuing right now in your own life, right? Trying to find that passion.
Yeah, like I mean, yes, yeah. I mean, in short answer, that's I think we all are kind of though. Like like we've got a short time here in the grand scheme of things, and it's like, you know, when you're, I guess the thing that I've been like saying, is like when I'm on my deathbed, whenever that is, you know, am I going to be stoked that I had that 401k and I was safe in like the last like 20 years, or like, are we going to be talking about all these like experiences and things that like I, you know, went for. So that's kind of like what keeps me going.
I like that perspective. Because at the end, you know, 99.9% of what we did, it's just not going to matter.
Right. Like, not that there's anything wrong with having a 401k. Big supporter of it.
Of course not. But at the end of the day, it's like, you live one life, and are you going to live it fully, or are you going to live it, you know, comfortably and scared, right?
Right,
so.
Absolutely. But and then there's like a line there too, because it's like, you know, my comfortable is not like somebody else's comfortable, right? So it's like not about telling anybody else to like that they're playing it safe. It's just like you got to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah. Great point. So I want to talk a little bit more about just kind of like this, like style and dress and things like that. Now, you know, there's kind of like this, you know, cliche statement, which I buy into it. You know, it says, you know, dress for success, right? So it's like, And I like if I mean most of the time you see me, I'm going to be in gym clothes.
Sure.
I'm in gym clothes right now, right? But even if I just put on like a pair of khaki pants or something like that, and throw on my favorite red Vans shoes, like even just that adjustment from like the day-to-day athletic clothes that I wear when I'm personal training, when I'm working out, just living life normal. Just that adjustment for me, like it changes something. Like it helps me just kind of give me maybe a little bit more confidence.
Absolutely.
So touch on just the importance of maybe finding your specific style, but then also kind of like just incorporating, maybe upping that dress game, so to speak, to kind of build that confidence and to maybe show up in a more powerful way.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you said with like dress for success, it's kind of, I guess what I think about there is like dress for your own success though, right? Like not for like somebody else's or like what somebody else thinks is success for you, right? So for me, it's always, there's guidelines, right? Like I'm a big supporter of like wear whatever you want, but do it to the best of your ability. Like if you're going to show your personality, show your personality.
Yeah.
And that's what I always encourage. Like let your style be an extension of your personality, because ultimately, like as much as we don't want to judge people based on what they look like or whatever, like you're presenting yourself in a certain way, right? So like you are putting something visual out there, and so it's like, what are you trying to leave people with? And I think it's cooler if I can get a sense of your personality or like what you think, kind of just from this guy like wears a slimmer fitting jean, cuffs it, like he's kind of thinking about things there, or I don't even care if it's if there's something more unorthodox, like whether it's wigs, things that like maybe I don't do, but like I was like I if you're gonna do it, but like do it to fully, like be like kind of like be yourself fully is what I say. But I think the biggest advice I kind of get with people who are like trying to figure out their style is just like experiment as much as you want to. You know what I mean? Like if there's a couple floral printed shirts that you've been eyeing but have been too scared, like try them. You never know. Or and that's the other thing that I like. My biggest pet peeve is what I get from people is when they're like, I can't wear that, or like I would never be able to wear that. And I was like, it's clothes. There's like you're allowed to wear like the pant. Like if you buy your size, the pants are gonna fit regard. You know what I mean? It just depends on like what you want to do. And yes, there's a couple. Like I said, there's some guidelines. We still want to maybe dress for certain occasions. Like if you're going to something formal, we're not trying to show up in shorts just because that's like what you love to do. But I mean,
great point.
But I think there's ways to still very much be you in whatever you're wearing or, whatever you're doing. So I guess that's like usually my message and most of my caption is like, here's kind of how I thought through things on this particular outfit. But like my question is like, what would you do? What would you do different? Or like experiment till you get this right for yourself, because like yes, I can tell you that like this color is nice and goes with this color, but that's all my opinion, right? Like you tell me what, like that's I'd rather like I think it's more about like empowering yourself to try some new things, try some different clothes. I mean, I've been like constantly evolving my style and developing it and trying new stuff, and some of it does not work, and it's fine. It's like it's like a bad haircut, right? Like but you can get rid of it faster. Like you don't have to wait for it to grow out. So like you can like not wear that again or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's just like I wish if like the biggest thing would be like figure out like yes, fit is important. Make sure your clothes fit right, but then from there like do what you want to do. Like cool. But like do it. Like don't half-ass it. Basically.
Yeah, I like it. Now in regards to kind of like maybe because dude, like I'm the last person you would ever ask in regards to like fashion. Like I usually like my two favorite colors are black and red. Like you can like if I have a black pair of shorts, I know I can wear any color of t-shirt and it's gonna be okay, right? So I'm dude. And the funny thing, David, is like I lived out in inner city Detroit and I worked with some youth out there at the YMCA, but after I was done with that, because it was just like a summer opportunity, I got hired for a seasonal position every time it makes me smile so much, dude, because it was like this. It was almost like not necessarily an imposter syndrome, but like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
So I got hired during a seasonal, for a seasonal position at a JCPenney in the men's department.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
In the men's department. So, dude, like, you're like have to fold like the clothes
Yeah.
specifically. I'm like,
What
dude,
am I doing?
what am I doing? And then then you'd have customers come up and be like, oh, hey, sweetie, like, what do you think about this? Would this look good on my son? He's kind of built like you are. I'm like, yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah, right.
Of course. Like, so I'm the last person you want working in a fashion department or a men's department in a store, let alone asking me for advice. So with that, just kind of maybe some for us dudes, like just to maybe and I know you're all about kind of like find your own style.
Yeah.
But just maybe some general tips to kind of like, present yourself a little bit better in regards to kind of clothing or style. What would be a couple tips for us guys?
Like very off the bat, like very first thing off the bat would be like figure out your sizes and figure out like what fit is right.
Okay.
Because even if your colors don't go together, whatever it is, like if the shirt shoulder seam actually hits you at the shoulders, if the the cuffs are the right length, like aren't too long, aren't like going past your thumb or anything like that. If the crotch in your pants sits where your actual crotch is, like that like cleans you up immediately.
Okay.
Because it's kind of because otherwise it kind of looks like like when you're like 13 and you get your first like suit from wherever, and it's obviously just like not there's anything wrong with off the rack suits, but like it's clearly like, oh, this is like a child in like
right
a suit.
Yeah,
you're kind of trying to avoid that, right? So that's like my biggest thing is like find your fit, work from there. So like I said, that's the shoulder seam stuff, the cuff, the lengths. With pants, like me personally, having those kind of taper in a little bit. I always like a little slimmer, just because it kind of makes, like, to me, it makes your leg look a little longer, and then just kind of, it almost helps create that kind of like triangle shape. Which if you're like somebody who goes to the gym, that's kind of like the shape that you're trying to build into anyway. So like your clothes can help you do that. But like I like when the pants stop a little bit above the ankle, if we're talking about tailored pants, or if you cuffed your jeans just to like show off the shoes. That's what I always like to do. But, but yeah, I think literally like the fit will solve like 90% of the problem. Just make sure you buy and like that's the other thing is like being a medium at like Gap doesn't mean that you're necessarily a medium everywhere else. So like go to a dressing room, like try some stuff on, figure out what you wear, and then you can buy stuff online from there. But just try it. Like spend the energy, because I know like it seems like daunting to like I have to go to a store and have to try stuff on. Like why would I do this? But like try a couple things on. Ask the person who's working in the store, like they ask you like how does this look? They'll most likely tell you what they think, and but I think if you can nail fit, like that's the rest. You just like colors, patterns, whatever you just get to play with. Right?
Cool.
And then just like get a couple of things that like fit you really well that you can like reuse over and over again. So like good pair of denim, maybe like a nice dress pant or like chino just to like go to nicer things with. Couple of Oxford button-up shirts, white and blue, your cover, like just very like simple things to kind of get you rolling at least, and then like let yourself experiment from there.
Cool. In regards to kind of like maybe like shoes and things like that, is there like and again I'm completely ignorant, I have no idea.
Yeah, no worries.
So when it comes to like maybe shoes or boots or getting footwear that is in alignment or lines up with kind of like your shirt, your jacket, your pants, is there like a certain way that you kind of like approach that, or is it again just kind of like find what you want? What is that?
Like how to pair some of that stuff together?
Like that. I don't know, dude. Just to make your footwear kind of line up with like the clothes that you're wearing.
So I kind of talked about this in like one of my recent blog posts, just like with the kind of 3 different styles of boots that I always recommend. But like then again, not everybody's trying to go out and like shop 3 boots right at the same time, because it is an investment. But like if you can get something, my first suggestion is like have a pair of black dress shoes, because again you're gonna be able to wear those with like jeans. They'll always look good with jeans. They'll always look good with your like office maybe a black and a brown pair if you can, just because like brown's a little bit of a warmer tone, so you can kind of do like, you get to play with more color just in the rest of your garments. But I mean, it depends. Like, sometimes I start an outfit from the shoes, and that's because I want to show off whatever shoes I'm wearing, or sometimes like I fit the shoes in afterwards. But I think you'll do yourself a favor if you maybe have like, if at the very least, like you have 1 or 2 pairs of dress shoes and maybe 1 or 2 pairs of boots. Like in Colorado, like have something weatherproof or waterproof, you know, so you can actually wear it in the winter. Yeah. And then maybe have something that's like a little bit more classic and kind of looks almost like a dress boot, but can also be casual, just so you can like wear them at the office, you know, when it's bad weather, or you can like wear them with, you know, jeans and whatever else. But honestly, like there's a couple boots like a desert kind of chukka boot, or just like a nice like leather black or brown boot will cover you for most situations. But yeah, I've got a lot of shoes, so I've got like, so that's a tough question for me to like narrow down.
No,
but
that's cool.
But it's just it's whatever you're feeling too. Sometimes you want them to like stand out and be like a totally different color. Other times you want them to kind of just complement and kind of anchor the outfit.
Now, in regards to kind of like, you know, like colors and things like that, because like certain colors, like red is like, it's a power color. Anytime you, like if you see a female in red high heels, like, I mean, like like your eyes are like go right to that.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And the same thing, it's like I've got red shorts on right now. Like red is a very attractive, eye drawing, powerful color. So you know, in regards to like color schemes and things like that, kind of like what's your perspective on, you know, let's say like you know, if you want to go to a specific event and like stand out, like are you gonna wear like certain colors, kind of like, do you know what I mean? Kind of like expound a little bit on that, like how does the color patterns or the color schemes play into how we show up, you know, wherever we want to show up powerfully or better or what have you?
That's a really good question. I don't, like, me personally, I don't play into a whole lot of that like color theory thing. Cause like where each color like has a meaning or necessarily. I will, like, if I put an outfit together for a specific event and, like, I try it on and I'm like, okay, maybe, like, you know, this is, like, a conference, and so maybe your, like, power red suit isn't necessarily the right, like, maybe you're trying to, you know, just look presentable and confident, but, and then at the same time, but, like, maybe you are trying to stand out, so go for the red, like, why not? But I just kind of... Yeah, that's a tough question, because I think it's whatever. I probably get frustrating just because like I say this all the time, but it's like whatever you're feeling. You know what I mean? Like if you want to wear those red shoes, like there's a way to like make them really stand out, or we can kind of build them in and kind of get complimented by everything else that you're wearing. So I think it just kind of the biggest thing that you maybe need to identify, I guess, with that is like what's your intention, like with the clothes that you're about to put on, like. If we start from, like, what you're trying to do or, like, what impression you're trying to set, then we can be like, okay, well, you know, if you're just trying to be kind of a supporter in this conference, but maybe you're not trying to, like, overpower anything, like, let's maybe not go with the, you know, the bold red shirt or shoes or whatever it is. But, you know, if your intent is to, like, really stand out and you want people to remember you, then, like, maybe we do something a little bit bolder and louder. So I don't know. I think it's the colors kind of just come into like what your intent is, and or sometimes I just like see a color and I'm like, I want to wear that today. And we just like go for it.
Cool. All right. So David, we're gonna start kind of wrapping things up. We've been going for almost 70 minutes here. In regards to kind of like just the, you know, what you're doing through Instagram, social media, you know, the content creation, men's style blogger. What's kind of like, what do you kind of see yourself doing with that, like in the future? Is there kind of a goal, or are you just kind of going with the flow? Where are you at personally in regards to kind of that content creation?
I think for the longest time I was going with the flow and kind of like passively working with people. I think my current goal is to really put a lot more active energy into it. So I would love to, you know, create longer partnerships and connections with some of these brands that I've been working with. And then at the same time, continue to expand on like the blogs, so just to provide like more helpful reading pieces and tips and stuff to my audience, as well as like I'm also looking to get into some video production just to kind of connect on a different level. So I think it's trying to maybe take more of like an active role in the content creation, and then really like, you know, pitch myself to other people, so or like to brands and other people that I could potentially work with. So kind of taking it really by the reins, I guess.
Cool. What's is there like a guy or a couple of guys kind of within this world that you kind of respect and admire? Yeah,
so that's actually one of the guys I just like kind of use as a mentor and talk to on the phone. His name's George, but his handle's Atlas and Mason. He's a pretty, at least what I would consider a pretty successful creator in the industry, and he works with another guy named Blake. And they've kind of do their separate thing. They also kind of host this other platform called Gents Lounge. So I kind of look to them for, you know, advice on how they really got this rolling. There's another guy that I've again sought mentorship from. His name is Trav White. He's kind of built, you know, his career, what seems like on sort of this creation platform and helping guys out. So I look to those guys, and the coolest part about the community is that they're like willing to talk. So it's like not, again, I like put them on this platform, but like they're very accessible, which is super cool. But yeah, those are a couple. There's a lot. I've talked to a lot of guys. Like everybody's willing to kind of share their stories.
That's cool.
And like, so I'm trying to do a little bit more. Like I'm going to New York next weekend, but I'm trying to do a little more traveling to actually like meet some of these people face to face and really, you know, take that connection beyond. Like a social media space. But, so cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, speaking of social media, what's kind of your perspective in terms of social media? Because this podcast wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Instagram. I love Instagram. It's my jam. I love social media. I think if you use it correctly, it can be used for a lot of impact and positivity. But you personally, where are you at kind of with social media?
Oh, I'm with you on that. I've had nothing. Well, I've had mostly like a positive experience with it. Obviously, like because it's kind of where, I guess the nature of some of this industry lies. Like it can get like that comparative syndrome. Some of this other stuff can suck you in and like really kind of break you down sometimes. So I try to be cautious of that, and I've had to take breaks just for like clear my head or whatever. But like as a whole, it's been nothing. It's created nothing but like a really positive, supportive community. And like, you know, I've connected with like people like you, or like really people in the community, or like I got involved with Denver Gents like basically through Instagram. Like it's a cool this thing that we're like even connecting with people that are like across the country, in different countries. Like it's crazy to me that like I have a relationship with people in that forum just because of Instagram or these social platforms. But I'm totally aware that it could be a total suck and also not a positive space for a lot of people. I think it's like you said, just depends how you use it.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm just gonna I just want to give you this is just kind of like the last thing here. I want to give you the opportunity, David, if there's kind of anything that you want to share, you know, with the world, share with my audience, share with your audience, you know, maybe that last word or last message. I just want to give you the platform, kind of just speak as you want.
Yeah. Really, I just like, if you're interested, like come connect with me at, you know, on Instagram, Threadability. My website is threadability.com, and that's where like a lot of my more in-depth blog posts are. But really, like I just enjoy connecting with people. So like, if there's questions on what I'm doing on my platforms or like with the content that I'm creating, like shoot me a message. That's what I just love, like answering questions, connecting on that level, and continuing to like expand this community that we have, especially like locally in Denver. I love that.
Yeah, cool. The last question I'm going to ask you, it's not the one that I told you I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Let's put it at 2 years. Okay, so in 2 years, where do you want to be in terms of what you're doing right now in regards to Threadability and the fashion? 2 years. So 2022.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's not the question you said you were going to
ask. I threw you for a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I think some of the things that I'm looking at now is like I would love to kind of build it into a brand, essentially, more than just like me as a guy creating like photos and videos. But like when, and I struggle saying that because I hate to like make it sound like narcissistic or egotistical, but it's like, I want it,
do your thing, man.
I just want it, you know, when you hear like Threadability and it's like attached to something, there's like, okay, like this is like a guy that I know and like something that I trust, and like I can come. So I'd love to like build it into more of a brand like that. And one of my other current goals is kind of to expand my local presence. So like I would love to kind of be almost that like guide in Denver of like local brands and local things to do. Yeah. So that's so I think it's just expanding it into something that's kind of a trusted name almost in that sense, and then you know, and continue to meet new people. Maybe I think it'd be cool if there's like some sort, I don't know if like we get into some sort of products or doing my own line of something or other down a couple of years from now. I think that would be really cool, but That's all just kind of some thoughts floating around in my head right now.
I love it, dude. So you kind of already mentioned where people can find you.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, you're good, man. No, we're good.
Jumped the gun.
Nope, you're good. I love it. So I just want to thank you, David, for sharing your story.
Yeah,
Appreciate the authenticity, and you know, I'm looking forward to getting your story out there. And again, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for hanging out with the 127 Fit podcast listeners, and thanks again for just taking the time to share.
Yeah, man, it's such a pleasure to be here. I'm stoked. Can't wait for this to come out.
Absolutely, my man. So 127 Fit podcast listeners, once again, thank you so much for your listening ears. They are always greatly appreciated. Thank you for hanging out with David and myself on the 127 Fit podcast today. If you would like to find out more about the guests or myself personally that I'm bringing onto the podcast, you can find all of that on Instagram at 127fit. Facebook is at Quentin Vars. LinkedIn is Quentin Vars. If you guys would do me a huge favor and please leave a 5-star rating and review, and also subscribe to the podcast, that would be cool. Specifically in iTunes and the Apple Podcast app, that 5-star review, the rating, the subscription, that is very, very helpful in more ears finding the podcast and getting positively impacted. If you want to get your fitness dialed in for the new year and in the future, if you want to get just stronger in your fitness, stronger in your health, your mindset, all of that type of stuff, I would love to set up a free 30-minute fitness consultation call with you, and we'll just discuss kind of like what some of those goals are, some of those ideas that you have in regards to fitness and health for this year and in the days to come. You can send me an email if you're interested in setting up that free 30-minute fitness call, 127fit@gmail.com. And if you think you would be a great guest, or if you have a friend or an acquaintance you think would be a great guest or guest for the 127 Fit podcast, you can also send me an email or give this email out. One more time, the email is 127fit@gmail.com. And one more favor, another huge favor I'd ask of you guys, as you are finding great value in a specific episode or episodes of the 127 Fit podcast, in which I know you are, please take that specific episode or episodes that you're finding that value in and share it on your Facebook and Instagram stories using the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. And per the usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." This time, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.